Hello and welcome to Scribes and Songsters. I'm Veronique Mandel. Today on the show, we'll introduce you to a writer of adult romance novels. Carlie Jean will tell us about her novels and characters, and in particular, her new novel, Keep Me. Welcome to Scribes and Songsters.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
So congratulations on your new book.
Thank you so much.
And now before we get into talking about your work, tell us a little bit about you. Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Windsor my entire whole life, and I lived right across from the grade school that I used to go to, and I actually did all my student teaching there, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, I lived in Windsor my whole life. I moved into Colchester just last year, which has been amazing. The beach, I love it out there. It's like paradise. But yeah, I'm just like your normal girl. I love to go shopping. I love matcha lattes. I love my dog. I love the sunset. I love hanging out with my friends, playing sports, all that good stuff. So
how old were you when you realized that you liked to write and that you could be a writer?
I realized I was really good. I would say in high school during my English classes, I can't talk. I found that I did really well in them. And then when I was in university and I had some downtime, I really liked to dabble with stories. Like if I was reading a book or watching a TV show and I was really invested in those characters, I wanted more. So I'm like, I need to write that. Like that scene would have been so good with those characters. And I would kind of write it out and then just get it out. And eventually I'm like, why don't I start writing my own books? So then what had happened was I became obsessed with Bridgerton, as many people did. Mm-hmm. And I wrote a fanfic for that. So a fanfic is basically you're a fan of a show and you write fiction for that show.
So how does that work?
So there's a website. It's called AO3. It's called Archive of Our Own is like the full word. So basically people go on there and they write fanfics for different things. So like Bridgerton, Harry Potter, Twilight.
So you make up your own story?
You make up your own story and you can add chapters. Like I think the one I did for Bridgerton has like 20 chapters, I want to say. And it has about 50,000 views on there, which is pretty cool. And all the nice comments on there is kind of what gave me the courage and confidence to finally be like, you know what? I'm going to write my own stuff. So lo and behold, that's how I became Carlie Jean.
Yeah. So in high school, what did you like to write about? What was it, about your writing? Did you have teachers who said, you're really good?
Like just my essays for classes, they just said like, you're very good. The way you word things, your intros and outros, very powerful. And when I was doing essays, I loved that part, like the grabbers and the enders, just to end on like a good note and leave readers kind of like, ooh, I just always loved doing that. So I'm like, maybe this could be a career choice one day.
Yeah. It sounds like you could write good news stories.
Yeah, maybe.
Intros and outros are really important.
Yeah.
Did you, try your hand at other things like poetry?
Oh, I did one time and it wasn't very good. No, I was going to put poetry in one of my books actually. So the first book in this series, Promise Me, the main character Aurora, her like side hobbies that she's really good at art. At first I had it that she was really good at poetry till my editor was going in and she's like, this is not poetry. Like, this is not good. And I was like, okay, we're going to scrap that idea and we're just going to go with art. So not very good at poetry, just a side note.
Yeah. What kind of stories did you like to write in high school? I mean, did you write stories besides essays?
No, not in high school so much. I didn't start to write stories until university. And I would find that there were stories that either, like I said, like related to fandoms and shows, or it was just stuff going on in my life. And like, I kind of wanted to change the ending to some things and see different things that kind of happen. So they're almost like autobiographies, but not exactly me and the people in my life. So,
have you always been a big reader?
Yes. Oh, I've always loved reading. As a kid, Scholastic book fairs, those were my jams. So I've always loved reading, still love reading.
And now you mentioned your teacher.
Yes.
What grade?
So I've mostly for the last 3 years, I've taught kindergarten, which is super fun.
Wow.
Yes. Need a lot of energy, but it's a lot of fun. So I enjoy it.
Who are your inspirations? Like, who are there people who inspire you and from whom you get story ideas?
So do you mean just like to write books like other authors or just people in my life?
Both.
Both? So I would say author-wise, I really love Anna Huang, Elsie Silver, Laura Pavlov. Those are just like 3 big ones that I can think of right now. Just like the way they write, it's so smooth, so effortless, and so fun, has you engaged. And just them as a person, follow them on Instagram. They're great, beautiful people. So that's just kind of like what I want to be like as an author, is like those ladies. And then in my life, honestly, I draw inspiration from everybody in my life. So they kind of give me the oomph to write. that courage and that inspiration comes from them because I just draw on who they are, experiences they've had, stories they tell me. I'm like, oh, there's a book idea. Let me write that one down.
So what drew you to adult romance? I mean, I always wonder, do people still read Harlequin romances?
Oh, adult romance is so big right now. So huge. All because of like COVID. I know that we don't like to talk about that, but because of that, Book Talk blew up on TikTok. So it's just, Book Talk is just the book side of TikTok. And adult romance is just thriving. It's actually pretty crazy.
So would Harlequin romance be included in that? Because I mean, it's very adult.
Yes, I would say so. Yeah.
Many, many years ago when I was at Ottawa University, I had to do a 10-year retrospective on Harlequin romances and look at how it changed from, over a decade. And it was quite astounding. Yeah. And I'd never read them, so I had to go back and I had to read a gajillion of them.
Oh,
and,
oh boy.
And so it's the ones I first read were very, there was nothing overtly sexual or anything. It was all implied.
Yes.
And then by the time the decade was over, it made you blush.
Yeah. Yes. That's definitely a trend that we're seeing now with the romance books is spice is in.
So what constitutes an adult romance?
I would say an adult romance, I mean, the characters are adults. Usually in an adult romance, I would figure. But I think what separates it from young adult romance is definitely the open door spice. Usually closed door spice is, yes, geared towards your younger audience or just people who don't like to read spice, which is totally fine. But I think that definitely separates it. And it's a big thing that needs to be noted with some books. Because I've even had some younger teenage girls reach out to me, oh, I want to read your books. And I'm like, maybe not yet.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
So who does read them?
I would say I'm in the new adult category. So that's like your age is like 20 to 30. Like around there is kind of where my market is. So.
Yeah. Do men read them?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, often wondered.
No, I don't think I've ever had any guys tell me they've read my books. I've tried to get my boyfriend to read them, but that's about it. He's a busy guy. He actually is a radio show host, so he's very busy.
Yeah. You have content warning on your book.
Always got to include that.
Yes. So, just let me see. It's in
we should get the first couple of pages.
Yeah, nightmares, assault, explicit sexual content, and past abandonment. Yep. I mean, that's a wide range of be awares.
Yes. People like to do that now just because with this big focus on mental health lately, I think authors like to include that. So if there's something in there that's going to trigger you, then just be mindful. Maybe don't read it or read it and just have some support available to you kind of thing.
Yeah. What kind of response do you get from people? Do they talk about any of these things that might have impacted them?
Sometimes. So not necessarily from this book, but from my first book, Promise Me, there is a loss of the parent. The main character's mom had died when she was younger in a car accident. And I had a girl reach out to me and she's like, it's so crazy because the day her mom died in the book, like that's the day my mom died. So she's like, this book was very like healing for me to see how we both kind of grieve the same way. So that comment made me cry the way like she was so descriptive. I can't describe the whole thing right now, but like it was just the like goosebumps moment. It's like, wow. Like, and she just said how it impacted her. And I'm like, wow, like, I'm not just writing these fun, sexy stories. Like people are getting something from this. So that's always nice.
Do you ever find that people look at the content warning and then have they ever said to you, well, I looked at the content warning and decided maybe I wouldn't?
No, I haven't.
Or they look at it and think, I'm in.
Yeah. Some people see that and they're like, the more triggered, the better. Yeah. People like that. But no, I haven't gotten that.
So let's talk about your books now. Yes. As I said, this is your latest.
Yep.
So just sort of give us a summary of how many others. You got 3 or 4, right?
I have 4 total, yes.
Yeah.
So there's 3 books in this series. This is the RLU series, the Rockland University series. That's what it stands for. So there's Promise Me, Trust Me, and the newest one, Keep Me. And then the next book in that series, the last one's coming out in January, which is very exciting. And then I do have my debut novel, which is called Good Catch. And that's just, it doesn't relate to this series at all. It's just my debut. It's fun. It's sexy. It's nothing crazy, but like, it's a good little book.
Yeah. Is the university made up?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I like to make everything up just because with trademarks and things like that, I try not to use actual names of places. Like in this book, for example, the baseball team professional, it's not Detroit Tigers, it's the Detroit Panthers because just you have to for reasons.
And I suppose you do have to think of all these things, especially when when you start out, and you don't know sort of all the pitfalls.
Oh, that's so crazy! All the things I've learned through self-publishing, like. I got to give myself a pat on the back sometimes. It's a lot of work. Like you got to get your own editors, your cover designer, proofreaders. You got to set up your own social media presence. Like it's a lot of work. I'll be honest.
Yes. And I think today more and more writers are doing that.
Yes.
Because even if you go through, one of the more standard publishing houses, you still have to do all your own marketing. If you're not Margaret Atwood, they're not giving you $250,000 up front.
No, they're not. Yes. So traditional publishing is very different. There's definitely a lot of benefits. People don't like it for certain reasons. And the same can go with self-publishing for sure. So just kind of depends on where you're at.
So what are the themes in your other books?
They all are very similar. So they're all sports romances. They all have spice in them. They're all happy endings. It's never like sad. Every book has different tropes. Like the first book, it's like the reverse athlete and tutor relationship. They're friends to lovers. The second book, there's an age gap. They're roommates. They're kind of like enemies to lovers a little bit. So each book has its own little flair, but they all kind of are a bit similar in the theme of sports romance, young adult. Not young adult, sorry, new adult.
Now, are you into sports?
Yes. I play baseball and volleyball, and I grew up watching baseball my whole life because my mom and dad both play. So every week I was dragged to the baseball diamond, whether I wanted to be there or not. So I kind of grew up just to love sports.
So you didn't have to spend, 1,000 hours researching baseball the way I would have to.
Right, which is so nice. The book I'm writing right now, though, is football. The main character plays football, and I'm kind of like, I don't know a whole lot about football. I know like touchdowns and like red cards, or not even red. I don't even know what it's called. See, maybe I'm wrong. I need to look this up. Holding, offensive. See, I know that. And that's about it. So I have to ask my boyfriend a lot because I don't know.
So I always say, when football, is that American football or English?
Right? No, American football. Yes, not soccer.
Which I must say, now don't get angry. Seems so pointless because I never understand what they're doing. They just seem to all, sort of smack each other around.
Oh, football,
and then run. I don't know. It just never makes sense to me.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever understand the rules, like all the plays and this and that. Like, I'll call my boyfriend and be like, hey, the main character's doing this. He's in a play, and he'll explain it to me. And I'm like, can you go slower? Because I just, I don't understand any of this. It's not English to me.
Yes. This novel, tell us a little bit about it. I know we don't want to give a lot away. But.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So this book has Camille and Riker in it. There are two main characters. Camille is a runaway princess. So she fled her royal family off the coast of France, and she's in hiding in the States. And she has a huge crush on this grumpy baseball player named Riker. And Riker just has no time for love in his life. His only focus is baseball. He doesn't care about anything but that. His dad left his mom when they were little. So he's just like, you know what? If he left me, anybody could leave me, and I don't want to deal with that pain again. So he's very closed off. But when she becomes the social media manager for their baseball team, because she's into photography and being online, doing the socials, all that content creation stuff, they're forced to be near each other for that reason. And he just can't stay away from her. She can't stay away from him. And they start to fall for each other. And a lot of drama happens because she is a runaway princess. So that kind of plays into it. Is she going to be found? What happens when the king finds her? So it's very fun.
You had fun writing it.
Oh, I guess. Yeah. I love Princess Diaries was my favorite book as a kid. So playing with the princess trope was so fun for me. I loved it.
The characters, let's deal with Princess.
Yes.
Did you base her on, her character on anyone you knew?
Nope. No? She was just made up, which is so fun for me because sometimes it's nice. Like, I have an idea. Okay, this is kind of based roughly off this person, but sometimes it's fun just to make them their complete own person. And you don't have to worry about is so-and-so going to get mad if I use this from their life or whatever. So it's just kind of nice to be completely individual.
And what about Riker?
Riker?
Did you ever know anybody like him?
No, I do not know anybody like him. I mean, my boyfriend does have a big influence in some of these novels for sure, but he is not Riker. Riker is so grumpy, and not that that's a bad thing. People love that, but my boyfriend's not completely grumpy like that. Yeah.
So. And tell us about some of the other characters.
So some of the characters you see in this book, you see Theo, which Theo is the next main character in Catch Me. That's the title of the next book, the football one that I have no idea about. So he's in this book a lot, and he's Riker's best friend. So it kind of sets up his story nicely because you get to see more of Theo because of that reason. And then the girl he's interested in, Marcella, she's heavily influenced in this story as well. So those are like your two main characters for the next book. We see Aurora and Jasmine from my two first books, Promise Me and Trust Me. They kind of come back for a girls' night, and that's like a really fun chapter. I got a lot of responses from that, from people online, and they're just like, I love seeing the girl game back together and all that. And they love seeing like the first couple, Aurora and Cameron, back together. So those are always fun scenes to see. So you see Cameron, Elio, basically all of the past characters from the first two books. You kind of get to see them again in this one.
So did you deliberately set out to have these characters sort of weave themselves back into books?
Yes, that's always my favorite thing going on in the series is bringing all the other characters back because I know people love it. And it's fun to see, okay, where are they at now in their journey, right? So that's always a fun thing to write for me. I love it. Like I'm already have it written out in this next book. Hey, big gang's getting back together in this chapter, and that's going to be fun. So it's always good.
Did you have a favorite character?
Whew, I get asked this question a lot, and it's so hard. I feel like it depends on the day, my answer, honestly. Like part of me wants to say Cameron because he's just so sweet and soft and everybody loves him. He's just ideally what you want in a guy, somebody who's so caring, so kind, so giving. And then I find myself, I relate to Jasmine a lot because Jasmine's a people pleaser. And then she's also your typical girl, loves to read books, very good in school. I mean, I can relate to that. I was very good in school. So I feel like I relate to her a lot. And she's very snarky, witty, and I can be like that. So
what about a character you didn't like?
Ooh, probably the girl I'm writing right now. So this is Marcella's ex-best friend. Her name's Ruby, and she made out with her boyfriend at the time, and they're supposed to be best friends. So I really don't like this character because she is just not a girl's girl. So,
and so did you make her up entirely, or did you ever meet anybody who you saw these things in?
Oh God, I hope I never meet anybody like her. No, I have not met anybody like her, thank goodness.
So what do you do when you sit down to write?
Yep.
Do you start with plot? Do you start with characters? What do you do?
So I always start with characters. What I like to do on my notes app, I have a lot of stuff in my notes app. I usually just write down kind of like, okay, the two main characters' names, what do they look like? Like literally like what's their height? What's their eye color? What's their hair color? What's their ethnicity? All that stuff. And then from there, I like to do a questionnaire. So I answer it as if I'm the character. So like it's like 50 questions long, and it's like the most random thing sometimes, but it's just, I want to know everything I possibly can about this character. So that when I go to write the character, it's like, okay, is this something they would say or do? Let's look back at their questionnaire, and it's like, no, that's not really their personality. Let's try and figure something else out. From there, once I have that done, I kind of go through like, what's it going to be the beginning, the middle, and the end? What's going to be the climax? What's going to be the problem? How do they solve it? But for the most part, though, I kind of just write down maybe the first 5 chapters, little notes. And then after that, I kind of just let it flow. Because once I start writing the characters, believe it, this is going to sound weird, but the characters take over and they kind of write their own story. Like I could go in with one thing, and then it's like I start writing, I'm like, no, this is so much better. So a lot of the time, I kind of just like to let it flow and not be so strict. Because when I'm strict, I find that it's not as good.
It's interesting because it's like doing character studies of characters in plays.
Yeah.
If you're writing a play, you always sort of do a character study of the character you want.
Yeah.
But you create the backstory.
Yeah. So it's fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We can't talk about the book without talking about the explicit warning. I always wonder, is there a formula for writing a sex in a story?
I think what makes spicy scenes so engaging in these romance novels is the fact that it's not just like, okay, like they're doing it. It's the fact that there's emotion behind it, and there's always a reason for it. In some novels that are strictly just sex, they might just be doing that. Yeah. But in romance novels where it's like there's actually a plot and a story to it, and there's spicy stuff included, the point is that there's always a reason for it happening, and it either progresses a character's development, the story, or their relationship in some way, of course. So I think that's just an important factor, is that there always is a reason for it, and it means something.
Do you have to, or did you sort of read other novels that had sort of sexuality in it?
Yes.
so that you got an idea, or
like you kind of get an idea from other novels to kind of give, okay, like this is kind of how spicy scenes are written, how they're set up. Some authors are more detailed than others, more closed off, such things like that. So you kind of just have to find your happy medium and what you're comfortable doing. I'm very comfortable, as you can tell. And that's the thing I think, is that it shouldn't be weird to talk about. Like, I mean, everybody's doing it. Some people are just writing about it. And I think that's okay, especially for young women who maybe aren't super experienced yet, and they can read and figure out what they like, what they don't like, what it might be like, or what they're looking for, kind of thing. So I think it can be an informative thing, and it's not bad. I don't think it should be embarrassing to talk about. I mean, I get a little red when I talk about it because I'm like, oh, my family. But
so what did your family think? Did they read it?
No, I know. My granddad was like, oh, we should all pick a character and like read it. And I'm like, absolutely not. Not happening. But no, they're very supportive, which is nice. But I really hope they never, ever read it. So.
Yeah. What about your boyfriend?
He loves it. He's always like, my girlfriend's a celebrity. He's very supportive. We're actually going to London, England next year. I have a book signing there. So we're very excited. Yes, thank you.
That's awesome. Where are you going?
So it's just in the east side of London. I forget the convention name, but it's called Rare. That's the event, Rare London. So I'm going to be going there with like, I think there's 1,700 people officially going, and there's like a zillion authors like Anna Huang that I mentioned earlier. I'm going to want to go in line and meet her. I'm going to leave my own booth. But I'm very excited. So that's going to be a great trip.
So how did you get set up with that?
So they actually reached out to me via email and said, hey, like, are you interested in coming and joining our panel in London? And I'm like, yes, of course. Like traveling, books, my two favorite things, I'm in. So, and I actually have another book signing too in Florida next May. So that'll be my first like big book signing. I've done book signings at the bookstore in Amherstburg, but this is like my first like big one. So
congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Yeah. And you know, it also goes to show that you don't have to have a big name publishing house in order to be successful. You just, you really have to do what you're doing. Yeah. And that's making sure you get the word out.
Yeah, marketing is huge. Like I say this all the time. It's, even if I don't post for a day, I feel bad because I'm like, there's so many people I could have reached even just in one day of posting. Like I still get to this day new people that are interested in my books, new followers. Like I'm always growing and evolving. So self-publishing definitely can be very successful. I hope people don't turn away from it, even though it can be hard. But trying to get in traditional publishing, I would say, is even harder. So at least just start off self-published, and then maybe a publisher might pick you up if you get really famous, so to speak.
Well, one of the more difficult things about going the traditional publishing way is that most of the publishing houses now require you to have an agent.
Yes. And then that is so hard to find. I'm in the process of trying to do that right now because I have interest from foreign companies. So like I've had interest from Russia, Italy. They want to translate my books and publish them there, but I can't do that without an agent. So I've been trying to find an agent. So it's a tough process. I'll be honest. It's exhausting. Yeah. And like writing query letters and stuff. Like I can write all day romance novels as soon as it's time to like summarize my book. And I'm like, I've never written a word in my life, I guess, because I don't know what to do right now.
Yeah. And it's, you know, publishing or promoting yourself is not the easiest thing in the world.
No, it's not. And then I feel like I'm annoying people. Like I don't want to post all the time, but I have to.
I know.
So it's
and then you don't want to feel like you're bragging.
Yes.
Right? But you have to brag.
Yeah. And I'm the most humble person. Like a lot of people don't even know I'm an author because I just don't talk about it. Like if it wasn't for my boyfriend and my friends honestly telling people wouldn't really know because I'm just kind of like, oh, like I'm just a nobody. You know what I mean? Like I don't really talk about it.
So what kinds of things do you do to get the word out? You know, what kind of social media do you use?
So I use Instagram and TikTok. Those are my two primary sources. So Instagram, I post all the time. Like my content on my page is mostly just book stuff, but my stories, I post a lot of like personal stuff. And I find that people like that because the more they get to know you and like you, the more they're going to buy what you're selling, right?
Yep.
Because there's a lot of authors, I love what they post on their stories. I love who they are. And I'm like, you know what? I'll download your book. Even if I don't have time to read it, I just want to support you because I like you. Yeah. So it's definitely a big thing.
Yeah. And I mean, that's so important. Talking about your page, you've got some really neat characters.
The character arts?
Yes.
Yeah, they're so
Tell us about that.
So I had reached out to her name's Elena. I forget her last name, and I think she lives in Europe, but she's phenomenal. I saw some character arts that she did for other people, and I reached out to her, and she's doing all my character arts now. And people like that, The one of Promise Me, so Cameron and Aurora, has like 40,000 likes.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah, it kind of is what made that book get very popular in a sense, like me popular, is that little character art. So that investment in that, the money for that was so worth it. And people ask me all the time, is it worth doing character art? And 100% it is, because people love it. And then you can use it in all your marketing videos. Whenever I use edits of like the character arts and videos, those videos usually average at least 10,000 views, which is nice. So
wow.
Yeah.
And you can sell them.
Yes, I can. Yeah, which I'm selling them too. My cousin sells them on her website because she has the whole like Cricut. She has her own self-business kind of thing. So it's just easier for her to put on her website and we sell it.
Did you make t-shirts and that sort of thing?
I can do t-shirts and merchandising. That's kind of where I would like to head with this in the future, is having like my own Carlie Jean shop. So selling like sweaters that say like Rockland University, or just like stuff like that relates to the book, right? Yeah. So just merchandise would be fun.
So you mentioned that you're working on another one. Remind us what it's about.
So Catch Me,
yes,
the new book. So that's going to be Theo and Marcella's story. So he plays football, and you're kind of like me, actually, in a sense. She can be shy and introverted. She's an aspiring author, and they're going to be fake dating. People love fake dating. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically when two characters pretend to date for some reason. So for her reason is that her ex and her ex-best friend are at the same university now, and she doesn't want the embarrassment of like them seeing her heartbroken and sad. So she's like, well, if we just fake date and look like we're happy, then maybe it'll kind of be like a
is that a thing
to them kind of thing.
Is that a thing?
Oh, it's a very much a thing. Fake dating is a huge trope in the romance world. People love it. Wow. And then the characters obviously fall in love, even though they're fake dating. So yes, it's very fun.
When's that going to be ready?
January 28th, hopefully. I'm still writing it. So.
And where can people buy your work?
So you can buy it on Amazon, Kindle, or the River Bookshop in Amherstburg.
And your next book signing in this area, do you know?
I'm going to, there's that editor workshop in October in Essex. I forget what it's called. I feel so bad, but I forget. But I will be there for that. And I will be selling and signing some books there, along with doing a panel of some other authors, which is going to be awesome. And I don't know if the River Bookshop has a fall signing, because I did one twice already with them this year. But if they have one in the fall, I'll be there.
Your books are very popular.
Yes. They are selling like hotcakes there, which is awesome. So thank you, Amherstburg.
Congratulations, Carlie.
Thank you so much.
And all the best with your work.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to hearing how everything is turning out for you.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Well, that's it for another edition of Scribes and Songsters. My thanks to our charming guest, Carlie Jean. Check out her new novel, Keep Me. Thanks to our Scribes and Songsters team, producer Brian Sweet and technical producer and editor Gary Glass. Grateful thanks to Tony Toldo and the Toldo Foundation, and to Neil and Tina Queering for their support. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you soon. Right back here on Scribes and Songsters. I'm Veronique Mandel. Bye for now.